Darkness has fallen in London. Soon, a champion will be crowned. Of the 596 who began, just 16 names remain in the mix. There's still nearly £3 million in prize money to share between these 16 players. The champion gets £1 million. Hundreds of thousands of pounds all rest on the turn of a card. It's the London leg of EPT Season 5. 16 must become 8 before the night is out. It's the 5th time the EPT's come to London, and it keeps on growing. The Victoria Casino plays host again, this time to a bigger field than ever, which means more buy-ins and bigger prizes. Let's take a look at the numbers. A star-studded cast of 596 players entered EPT London. That's the biggest ever field for a London EPT, and that created the biggest ever prize pool, and of course, the biggest ever first prize. The 16 players remaining are guaranteed at least £19,500, but it's the £1 million for first that'll be on their minds. The chip leader is 24-year-old American Michael Martin, but there are plenty of big hitters left, including David Benjamin.
You've got to play good, and hopefully luck will come and hit you right in the face so you can win the tournament.
Anthony Lelouch came close here last year, and he's got plenty of chips.
London is now my hometown. I don't live there, but it's my poker hometown. It seems to be, so I'll go the farthest I can.
Johannes Strassmann is short, but the shooting star has belief by the bucket load.
I can still win. As long as there's a chip in the share, you always have a chance to win a tournament.
Thanks, Cara, for setting the scene. I'm Colin Murray. With me in the commentary box is Greg Raymer, my favourite partner.
Oh, cheers, mate. Thank you.
Like it. Some intelligent conversation. You know?
I haven't heard that in a long time. Thank you. Well-known high-stakes cash pro David Benjamin lays his hand down.
David Benjamin, one of those people who's annoyingly good at sport. Professional tennis player, then he hurt his back. Top 10 billiards player.
Raised all in. Martin's going to raise all in.
So there's nothing he's bad at?
Nothing.
Nothing.
He's not very good at carpet bowls, but apart from that, he's very good at everything.
You can find a video of him on YouTube playing a piano and singing at a party, too.
Oh, I hate people like that. Good at everything.
Yeah.
Horrendous. We should probably talk about the fact that your friend Heretsky's all in here.
We probably should. With the Queen 10 offsuit, obviously he's just hoping not to get called. He's getting short enough stacked that all in or fold is pretty much the right move. That's
the thing. They're all in the money. But none of these players are thinking about finishing 12th instead of 13th or 8th instead of 9th. Everyone's playing to win. When you're stacked low, you're going to push them in. He's looked ahead as well. He's seen Eric Liu. He may get a call with a middle hand from him. He can afford to do it. And that could be what happens. And even though he goes in slightly behind, this is what Heretsky needs to do. He needs to gamble.
Yeah, sometimes you have no choice. The cards aren't coming. You've got to, make a play.
And he did call.
Martin is all in with Queen 10, Queen of Diamonds.
He's not turning over those cards thinking, oh, I'm well in the lead here.
Not once he's called. Not once he's called, he isn't. But he knows he's got equity. He knows he'd get called relatively light by Eric. And so this is what he's typically going to get, 60-40s.
8 of diamonds. The 9 of diamonds.
Oh, there's the 9 for Lou.
Yeah, but still, any jack, any diamond, any queen, any 10. Lots of outs for Marcin.
Turn card is a 6 of clubs.
Now any 7. Well, now he can catch a 7, though.
Yeah, but less chance of winning, though, Greg.
7, a jack, a diamond, a queen, a 10. Tons of outs. I mean, 45% with one card.
Vital River.
Ah, the queen, pair of queens. Well done, Marcin.
One card keeps him in it.
But I had so many outs.
He's now got $250,000 chips.
Pass me 3, please.
Excellent. Needed to gamble, he did. Fortune favors the brave.
Over at the outer table, Johannes Strassmann is short stacked too. He's had a roller coaster of a tournament, and his Queen 5 is up against the chip leader Michael Martin's A7. The shooting star hits his 5 on the flop to double up. Could this be the beginning of a great comeback? Wow, watch this space. And let's have a look at our leaderboard. Michael Martin is at the top and has been since the beginning of day 3. He's consistently ahead of the game. He's closely followed by Anthony Lelouch, and Alan Smurfett in third has a WSOP bracelet but is looking for an EPT win. Canadians top and tail the second half of our chip count, and Johanna Strassman and Hareki are still short even though they've just doubled up. And finally arriving late in seat 6, it's Golter Salas. Silly Golter. What on earth could have been so important? And no sooner had one player arrived than one was leaving us. Joseph Alpaya eliminated in 16th place by Eric Joden. Back now to our TV table where Christopher Walters is under the gun.
A real poker players tournament this. No matter how big the EPT gets, it's great to see so many players stay behind. It's not a case of lose your chips and go home.
Well, London's a great city. I mean, I love coming to London.
You've never phoned me, you know. Outside of this commentary booth, I'm dead, do you? I've been waiting by my phone.
Well, I just assumed you were busy with all your important activities.
Yeah, you're probably right, you know.
You know, more important than the activities I engage in.
Well, we're getting, not only are we getting the cream of our players here in London, but we're also getting fantastic hands to go up against each other. And once that happens, it kicks off.
Well, Alan's in a tough spot. He's gotten the all-in push. Okay, he's going to get away from it. He's going to be way behind if he calls that raise. Paris Evans is tempting him, though. He wants to play it for some reason.
I think the Irishman's played poker long enough to know he needs to fold these.
Well, the only thing is, Walter is thinking, don't call, but the truth is you want the call, Walter. This is the hand that you want to race against, where you're a 4-1 favorite. You don't want to play against Eric Liu.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you think money comes into it with someone like Alan Smurfett? You know, he's a billionaire a few times over, and he's probably making an interest today, our massive prize pot. Do you think sometimes he'll play it a bit like a game at home, like we would if it was playing for 20 quid?
Well, I think for him it's a matter of pride and ego.
Yeah.
You know, in other words, he wants to do well to prove himself. He wants to show us that he's a great poker player.
Let me rephrase it. When the money doesn't matter, do you lose a little bit of hunger?
Apparently not. He's done pretty well.
You're right.
But we got a call here, and Walter is going to be a 70-30 favorite. Eric Liu decided to call him, and Walter's in a good spot to double up.
Eric has ace jack.
Walter Salas against Eric Liu.
Walter is the all-in player. Let's see the flop, please.
Liu's looking another A, and A, there it is.
Not the card he wanted to see, and now he's down to 1 out.
Got 2 spades with the 4-9 ace.
Oh, he can catch the running spades. 2 spades or the 1 jack left in the deck. Well, now it's just the 1 jack. Jack of diamonds, or Walter is done here on a bad beat.
Let's see the river card, please.
That's not going to be good enough, Greg.
Ah, it's a shame.
Another player gone. Walter Salas from Brazil has got a long trip home.
I know he's falling.
Another one lost, and Eric is very much back in this game.
Welcome back. Michael Martin is still top of the pile here in London and in pole position in the race for the big money. £1 million goes to the winner. Well, we are still down to 2 tables here, and I have Team PokerStars Pro Joe Hasham to give us the lowdown on how you should be playing when there are a couple of monster stacks and so many short stacks around you. What would you be doing right now?
With so many short stacks around, I'd be waiting for the other short stacks to make a mistake. Pick a good spot for myself to try and double up, but not getting too frustrated and too antsy. You've got to allow for the inexperienced players to make their mistakes and bump yourself up to a better spot, obviously financially, but also to look for a spot where you've got a good chance of doubling up.
Okay, well, I think someone's taking an opportunity on the feature table as we speak, so I'm going to send you guys back to comms to see what's happening.
Absolutely right.
How much is it?
Christopher Walters, who describes himself as a party animal.
He's decided to party with the ace-deuce suited, which is not a great hand.
It gets worse when you go up against the kings.
Could be worse. He's actually in better shape against kings than he would be against a stronger ace. So if Eric had turned over something like ace-10, he'd be in better shape right now than with pocket kings against the ace-deuce.
Very good point, Greg. He'd be dominated then. At least he's got that overcard.
And Walters says it's sick. You pushed with a mediocre hand, you ran into a big hand. It happens all the time. Nothing too sick about it. Oh, he's predicting a sick beat that he's going to put on Eric. But 32%'s not so sick. Let's see what happens. Whoa, man, there it goes. Boom.
Queens now. That's why everyone's went, uh-oh. The queens will work for Eric as well.
Yep.
So the ace was a dream card, of course, for Christopher.
6 outs for Eric Luda to do the damage in return.
There comes the king.
Wow, and now a queen for a split.
Queen ball. A set of kings.
Only the queen will work, am I right in this stage?
That is correct. A queen for half the pot, or otherwise we're going to lose our party animal, Christopher Walters.
No, nice
6 of diamonds,
diamonds,
3 kings is going to
That's it. The reason why the ace would not have helped was because it would have made a full house, of course, for Eric. Christopher Walters from Canada goes out, likes to fish. We're going to have to toss him overboard. Back out to the outer tables then, because the action isn't letting up here. Strasman is all in again. He's still short. He's got ace K and he pushed in. Chip leader Michael Martin's looking to bag another victim. Joe Hashim was just talking about picking your time with a big stack. That's a 10 on the turn. That makes Strasman's cause look really unlikely.
Very unlucky.
But the river's a queen.
Ha!
It doubles Strasman up. He's in the thick of it at the moment. He's pleased about that.
Bad luck, good luck. That's the order you want it to come in. Bad luck, good luck.
New player on the TV table.
And then there were 12. Pro's going to start us off under the gun.
Tereniak from Swede. From Swede?
Yeah.
Is he from a
Swede,
vegetable?
Yes, he is.
From Sweden joins us.
We've seen him before, though. He's not new to us, but he's back on our feature table. Marston's given the 3-5 of diamonds, I think.
Gonna pass to Mike.
Interesting guy, Marcin Herecki. He was part of a national alpine skiing team despite being from Poland. He did very well, but a bit of an injury there. Tereniak, ace king, straight on the table, straight to business.
Mike's gonna bring us in for a raise to 44,000.
Yeah, well, that's the kind of hand to raise with. And we'll see what these players think. You know, they haven't seen him yet for a while, or they haven't seen him at all maybe this tournament.
Middle position, right size of raise. Let's see what he could come up against. He's going to come up against something. Queen 10 suited. David Benjamin.
Well, this is a decent hand, and you know the guy might be trying to steal your blinds. Even if he has a hand like he has, ace king, you know, David has 39% equity, so if he knows what the cards are, he shouldn't fold here.
These guys are going to be heads up on the flop here. David against Mike. Let's see the flop, please.
Our Frenchman
9 of clubs, 9 of diamonds. Deuce of clubs.
was in more trouble than he is in now.
David's going to check over
This is
Mike.
now a coin toss. 2 clubs on board really helps.
Yep. Any club, any queen, any 10 is going to put David Benjamin in the lead. But Tereniak will have a redraw to any of those cards on the turn. Even if Benjamin makes the flush, Tereniak can catch another club to make a higher flush. I wouldn't be surprised to see David shove all in right now. He's got a flush draw and 2 overcards, and he's got a lot of fold equity. He knows that Tereniak has lots of hands that he can fold right now.
What we know he's going to put some form of bet in here. How does Tereniak approach this? How does he feel with his ace king?
Well, I wouldn't feel very good with an ace king right now. I mean, I expect David to either have some kind of pair in his hand besides the 9s on the board, or he's got exactly what he has. He's got a flush draw, which means he's got all the clubs plus 2 other cards he can hit to beat me.
The all-in raise is 209,000 more.
I mean, if I'm Tereniak, this is the best I can hope for, is right like this, 51, 49%. Otherwise, I'm quite a ways behind.
Well, he won the gamble at this stage. He's got about 1/3 chips if he was to double up, but put him in a serious position. Is it time to gamble? That's what I'm asking.
Well, it's never time to gamble unless you're getting the right price, in my opinion. You don't gamble for the sake of gambling. You gamble because the math says this is the time to do it, and it's a profitable opportunity.
Well, he's holding the cards. He was holding the cards like he was about to fold them, and now he seems to have reconsidered. but it is a hard decision.
Well, unless he has some kind of really great read on David, he should just throw this hand away. He's either in a coin flip like this or he's well behind. And if he's against a 9, he's drawing basically dead.
Wow.
Seems like an easy fold to me. I'm not sure why he's thinking so long about it. I can't call here unless I'm putting David on a stone bluff where he has no flush draw, no nothing.
His body language is completely changing. It's changing towards calling.
Well, it looks like he's gritting his teeth, yeah.
Call.
Oh, wow.
Mike announces call.
And he has called it.
He's made the correct decision, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a smart decision.
He could have had a good read. That's the only thing, like you said, you know, and you got to give him credit for maybe he does.
Yeah, but I mean, even with a great read here, he's 51%. I mean, you know, because he's getting a price, because there's already dead money in the pot, it's definitely the correct decision. But
if Benjamin loses, he's out. If Tereniak loses, he's decimated. He'll have very few chips left. That 3's good for Tereniak.
Yep.
It means nothing. 1 in 3 chance for David to stay in this tournament.
David can't believe he got called either.
Be eliminated in 12th place. Let's see the river card, please.
Oh no, absolutely nothing. Tereniak pairs up, it doesn't matter. David Benjamin is out. And is in hindsight a wonderful thing for Tereniak.
A great call from Tereniak there with just ace high, but facing an all-in from David Benjamin. Just how did the Swede reach his decision to call? Time to get inside his head.
I thought he reckoned I was pretty loose, so I thought he was gonna shove any pocket pair or any decent ace pre-flop. I thought he would take flops with like suited connectors or big suited cards like Queen Jack or King Queen or something like that. But he can also make a move there on complete air, like King Queen without a flush draw. I thought I was ahead and it was very much in the pot, so I decided to call.
Mike announces call.
And he showed Queen 10 suited for a flush draw. And luckily, my hand held up.
River card is the ace of hearts.
And I took down the pot.
That's going to eliminate David Benjamin in the 12th position. Let's have a round of applause for him, please.
Another one gone. I like it. Now I can see the whites of the eyes of the EPT London champion. I just don't know which eyes.
Now that we're getting so short-handed, we only have 5 players on the table, and that changes the dynamic a lot. You're in the blind 40% of the time. You're in late position pretty much every other time.
And it also means the value of your pockets goes up.
Yep, it takes less of a hand to be a premium hand. So now all of a sudden, King 6 offsuit, which is really quite a horrible hand at a full table, becomes a pretty good hand, especially after 1 or 2 people have folded already.
So Horetsky will bet it. He'll probably raise.
Yeah, it might be right for him to shove in, given the size of his stack.
He's going to make the call.
Just calls. It's
Yeah,
the only thing we didn't mention.
Well, I mean, I don't think a call is wrong, but you certainly can't fold that hand. It's much too strong to pass blind versus blind. But you can call with it sometimes, you know, just so your opponent doesn't give you credit for that strong of a hand, a king high. Or you can, you know, raise with it as well. And, you know, given the size of his stack, though, I think all in might have been the better play. But this play is acceptable as well.
Horetsky did something that is a nice thing to do, maybe at a less talented table, which is count all your chips after you make a call, as if you're seeing how much you're going to push in.
Well, actually, I think Tereniak asked him for a count.
Okay.
That's a Tereniak wanted to see where the count was before he even looked at his hand.
First card comes down good for Horetsky. Next card doesn't. Tereniak in a good position, but he probably won't like the ace.
This is a very awkward spot for Marcin. I mean, it's going to be hard to play this hand right. You're out of position. You hate to just check when you flopped a pair. It's hard to flop a pair. Most of the time right now, his pair of sixes is the best hand.
Michael against Marcin.
Well, Marcin's going to have to get lucky on the turn here, or he's probably going to lose a pretty sizable pot.
Tentative after the flop. Let's take a look at the turn.
That's no help to Marcin. Tereniak solidifies his lead.
Same thought process, really, just a card later.
Well, the hand's even that much worse, though, for Marcin. He bet the flop and he got called, so that makes it more likely that he's actually behind. And now if he wasn't behind, here's another overcard that Tereniak might have hit to take the lead. Oh, that might be a bad check for Tereniak here. If we see a king or a 6 on the river, he's going to regret that check.
7 of hearts.
All right, now he looks like a genius. Now he looks like a genius with that check. Because now he might get some more chips out of Marcin.
I'm not sure he will.
Well, it sure looks like Marcin is putting out a bet of some sort.
Only the ace. Well, it's an interesting one because there was no pre-flop raises, and you could easily be sitting with 9-7 in the big blind, or, you know.
Oh, everything's possible because of the way the hand was played. But I'm kind of surprised, though, that Tereniak didn't play it a little more strongly on the turn or river.
Softly, softly, catchy monkey. That's the phrase.
Where is that the phrase?
I don't know. I heard it before somewhere. Okay, let's go back out to the outside tables. One of last year's finalists, Anthony Lelouch, has doubled up. His fans are very vociferous, which means loud. Peter Bush has been crippled in poker terms only. You know, it would be unfortunate if his family had just tuned in for those 3 words, you know, so I just want to clear that up. Poker terms, he's crippled, and one of my favourite players is now the new chip leader, Anthony Lelouch. Well, we'll be down to our final table very soon.
Well, we don't have many players to eliminate, but sometimes this can take hours to lose that last guy before the final table.
It's human nature to start thinking about getting that day. The last 8 players, they'll all go and have a sleep when it's down to 8, and everyone will be talking about it, and they want to be talked about.
Well, it's really a big deal to make the final table. I mean, that's how you pad your resume. You know, you win events, and how many final tables have you made? So there's actually a big difference in terms of prestige between 8th and 9th, even though the money isn't that huge.
49,000.
Makes it easy for me.
Eric will pass the button. Alan on the small.
Oh, Alan's be folding that hand. He's much too solid of a player to be playing Queen 5 offsuit unless he gets a free one in the big blind.
It's just exciting, isn't it? Because we get 2 tables that are short-handed. We get 2 tables with short stacks on it.
All right, here's a player we haven't seen before. I want to hear how you pronounce this name in your Irish accent.
What, J-style?
Frode J-style?
Frode J-style.
Oh, not bad, I think.
From Norway.
I could be way wrong, though. I don't know my Norwegian at all.
I think Frode is right. Frode is good.
Frode?
Yeah.
The only thing I know about Norway is the Norway ride at Epcot and Disney World.
Goodness.
So.
Get a passport.
My daughter loves that ride, by the way. It's fun. It's a fun little waterlog thing, flume ride, you know. It's nice.
Well, as we return from the parallel universe.
Well, it's Disney World. It's not that parallel. There's a shop right here in London.
I'm still ignoring it. Michael Tereniak against Frode J still.
Well, Tereniak's decided to push with a moderate hand at best, ace-9, but
and a decent
we're short-handed. Well, that's the thing. He's playing big stack poker here. He's assuming that he can get Frode to fold.
He might not be able to.
No, he might not. There might be too many chips in the pot for Frode to fold, but...
I call.
Well, he's in.
He called, but that was not an easy decision, I guarantee you.
Big, big hand. Big, big hand. Tereniak will have 1 million chips if he wins this. Frode will go home if he loses it.
Well, and Frode J-style is a man alone right now because everyone else cheering against him. If he goes out, they're 1 player closer to the final table. He's the only one who wants himself to win.
And all of Norway. This is Norway, Sweden. This is bad blood, and the flop is horrible.
Ooh. Well, we're still pretty close. That's a pretty fair flop.
Oh, I don't know.
It's still pretty much a coin flip at this point.
Forget percentages. When you see 2 spades in the first 2 cards, you think you're going home, and there it is.
Yep, and now that puts Frode drawn dead.
It's not even about percentages there. You know when you're trying to avoid a flush draw and the first 2 cards are spades, you know it's not going to be your night. Let's get the 9 remaining players around the 1 table.
Welcome back to London, where we've got down to our final 9 at the Victoria Casino. One of these players will not make the final table, will not come back for final table day, and will definitely not collect £1 million. Let's have a look at the leaderboard to see how they stand. Anthony Lelouch is now our chip leader. There's plenty of experience in this 9. The final table bubble promises to be exciting. There are 4 short stacks who will need to double up soon to stay out of trouble.
Nobody wants to go out now. 9 men round the table. Greg has been telling me that is akin to Lord of the Rings. 9 for the fella. Sorry, Greg, I fell asleep again there.
If you can fall asleep during that movie, you have no sense. No sense of style. Oh, wait. It's 2 blanks for a second there.
Only 1 to go before the final table, Greg. You've got the smallest stack with 6 times less than the biggest stack. The tactics change depending on how many chips you have in front of you now.
Well, yes and no. I mean, the problem is if you're the short stack, or one of, well, you got 4 real short stacks here that are all relatively comparable to one another. The real question is, do I want to risk going broke before I make the final table and build up some chips so I have a better chance of winning? Or am I just going to sit back and let someone else make the mistake of going broke first? And someone else will, not because they made a mistake necessarily, but because they were willing to take the chance.
Lelouch is chip leader as it stands at the moment. He's in a good position.
Wonderful time to be chip leader.
Yeah.
Wonderful time, because you can abuse these short stacks.
Good position in this hand, which will explain the raise. Some people might be saying, why with the 10-7? It's on position, and it's based on the stacks ahead of him.
Exactly. I mean, he's got well, aces he's going to play. He's going to risk going broke with aces. But Marcin would not play some, halfway decent hand that he might have played if he was the chip leader and Lelouch was the short stack.
Should he push over the top here?
Oh, I would say so, because the raise is already enough. It's 20% of his stack just to call the raise. So he should re-raise here, and every reasonable raise is all in.
Okay.
So his only sensible play is just to shove in. And yeah, Marcin's a good player. He knows this.
He's not going to call this.
I can't imagine. Lelouch is not getting the right price. And he knows that as a short stack, Marcin has a premium hand here.
But why is Marcin not giving him the right price then? Why not just double the initial raise? Why not get him involved? He's got the bullets. He knows the position that Lelouch is in. He may just be bullying the table.
Well, if Lelouch has a decent hand, Lelouch might call, and he wants to get called here because he's at least a 4-1 favorite. And if Lelouch doesn't have a hand, well, if you do some other little playful raise, if you just do a minimum re-raise, now you'll have no idea whether the flop hit Lelouch or not.
Okay.
So, you know what? Let's just shove it in now, and I know I'm playing right. I know that he can't call me and get the right price, and I know I'm not going to make a mistake after the flop.
Clear conscience for Hareski.
I mean, the flop might come in a way that is actually still leaving him as a favorite, like 7, 8, 9. But now he's got a pair and an open-end straight draw, and you're not that far ahead with your aces, and you'll never know if he didn't already flop the straight.
Well, nothing's going to happen there. You're exactly right.
Yeah, Lelouch had no hand he can't call, but if he had something decent, if he had ace-10, he calls.
Well, Anthony Lelouch, I have to say, I do like watching him play a lot. He makes a lot of money. He also makes a lot of friends around the poker table. And like myself, one day wants to open a restaurant. Difference is, mine sells burgers, his probably sells l'escargot.
Well, maybe you should upgrade your wishes a little.
Well, I'm a man of simple means.
Fair enough. Actually, I prefer the burgers over the escargot myself, as do most people, I think.
I was going to say, Greg,
I'm pretty sure most of the people in France prefer the burger over the escargot.
Not the way I would cook them. A real nice mix of people around the final 9.
After that comment, I don't think I'm investing in your restaurant.
3 from across the pond, 1 Canadian, 2 Americans.
Pass around to Johannes on the button.
That should be an easy decision, yep.
Pass all the way around to Anthony on the big line.
Now, Anthony might play any 2 cards here, and he's actually got a top-notch hand. So this is going to be a bad spot for Martin. Oh, he's just going to call. See, now a lot of people would come over the top with a big raise because Martin has a big stack, but Lelouch has the biggest. So just push him off the hand now.
So what Lelouch is doing is he's taking a risk. He's trying to maximize the pot, but by doing that and playing it slowly, he's put himself more danger of getting caught by the flop. Well, he hasn't in this case, so it's a gamble that's paid off.
So far it has, and he's a big favorite at this point. But, he's taken a risk where he can become an even bigger chip leader, and he's also taken a risk, though, that he's going to lose a huge pot. He's probably not going to lose now, though. Martin needs a jack and a jack only if he wants to take this one down.
And for Martin also, it's a really easy thought process for him. He's saying, Lelouch called my raise. Has he got an ace in his hand? Because if he doesn't, I'm winning.
Yes, and that's Martin's playing this hand perfect, especially given the situation. He's checked behind in a spot where he might have had the best hand.
Yeah.
And one good reason for that is he knows that there's not many free cards. If he is ahead with this pair of jacks, there's not many free cards that are going to hurt him. So he's just going to check, try to induce a bluff because he knows he can't beat any real hand. And now Martin pretty much has to call this bet. He can easily afford it, and he's beating every single bluff. And he's beating hands that might even be betting for value here, you know, such as a worse jack or a pair of, you know, someone might have paired the 6. Lelouch might have a pocket pair. So automatic call.
For the 47 people who haven't played poker yet in Britain, let me just explain what's happened. Lelouch takes it down with 2 pair in total. He'll use the ace in his hand. They give him 2 aces, 2 8s already on board, and the queen in the pocket will be his 5th card. And the big stack gets bigger.
And I think both of them played that hand exceptionally well.
Tomorrow. Yeah. Hello. A strategy, a risk from Anthony Lelouch that he could afford as well, because if he had been caught and lost 100,000 chips, he wouldn't have noticed it.
Well, the only thing that could have gone really, really wrong for him is if it had come like in a jack and a queen in the last 2 cards. And then he thinks his top 2 pair is the best, but he's losing to the 3 jacks.
That would happen to me.
But he wasn't going to double up Martin no matter what came.
When I play poker, Greg, it's just a metaphorical black cloud above my head.
Well, here's one of our other 4 short stacks, Alan Smurfett with a pair of 10s, and he's got to play this hand. If he wants to have any shot of winning the tournament, you cannot be folding hands this strong, even at this dangerous point in the tournament. And if he runs into a bigger hand, oh well. You know, that's just, it's meant to be. And this is a really bad spot for Marson. He picks up a pair of 9s. He's against another stack who has him covered, but not by a lot. So he's scared of Alan, but Alan is almost as scared of him.
Yeah. We haven't seen Alan Smurfett much. He picks his hands wisely. And you'd expect that type of shrewd, straight thinking from a man who has made his billions through making those good decisions. Pocket 10s for Smurfett.
Well, when Alan's playing his A game, he's pretty much knitting it up, we say. He's playing very tight, very solid. He's waiting for proper starting hands. He's not messing about. And that's an excellent laydown by Marson. A lot of players would just shove right in at that spot.
Oh. Well, here we go.
Eric Shoden, he's not going to mess around with his ace-queen. And if he gets called, he's in a coin flip, and he's a little bit behind. But we got 2 of our short stacks butting heads here. We're going to see if we end up with our final table on this hand. If we're going to end up with someone like Alan becoming the super short stack, or if we're just going to get a fold and move on. To be honest, I could defend either decision here very well. I mean, either folding or calling with a pair of 10s right now. I think this is almost a coin flip decision, just like we got a coin flip hand if he calls.
His body language says to me he's thinking, I'm going into coin toss here. I think he knows exactly what you're saying. He knows he's going into coin toss, and the question is for Alan Smurfett, does he want to have it at this stage with 9 players left, 8 going through to tomorrow? Tomorrow's another day, and tonight's bragging rights when all the poker players get together.
Alan has Eric covered here, but not by much, and he's going to be on fumes if he calls this and loses it. And he knows this is a decision to whether he makes the final table with a real stack.
He's asking how much more, and exactly what you're saying. He'll only be left with about 200,000.
Well, he knows in this situation where Shoden is the shorter stack than him, that Eric has a real hand. And that means he should have an overpair. He should have an ace-king or an ace-queen. Occasionally he'll have something like 9s or 8s, an underpair to Alan's 10s. But Alan knows that overall he is a dog in this spot to Eric's range of hands.
Will we get a Shoden showdown? That's up to Alan Smurfett from Ireland. He doesn't want the coin toss. And you can defend that, as you said, either way.
It's getting late in London. All is quiet by the River Thames, and it's final call for the Tube in Leicester Square. Edgware Road, home to the Victoria Casino, is buzzing because there's still plenty of poker to be played.
Just waiting for the cards to fall in a way that gets rid of one player.
Well, nice thing too here is that our EPT feature table is a big size table. There's plenty of room, even nine-handed.
Oh yes.
When I was playing the 2004 main event of the World Series, I was at a stud table designed for 8 players, and we ended up with 11 of us sitting at it at one point.
Showdown busy again, this time the Fishhooks. I just want to get rid of one player for no poker reason really, but just to stop Greg talking about Gandalf. 50,000, that's about right.
Yeah, that's a standard raise at this point, 2.5 times the big blind. Some people would actually just shoved in with Showdown stack because they don't want to take a chance, you know, they don't want to call from a hand like an ace-king here. And if they shove in, he might lay it down. And if he does call, oh well.
Showdown's a classic example of a man who's not interested in finishing 8th, 7th, 6th. He knows he's probably going to be in that position. He knows he's maybe going in. If anyone's got cards, they are going to push over the top, which is what's happened with Strassman here. And he probably knows if he calls this, he's facing 2 overcards.
Well, the reason it's a good play for Showdown if he's not worried about the bubble is because he might get someone to push over the top with a significantly inferior hand, like a smaller pair or an ace-jack, ace-10, king-9, some hand where they only have 1 overcard.
And he's been busy enough of late for somebody at the table to maybe say, okay, enough's enough. You've been involved in a lot of hands. I'm not going to give you that much credit.
I'm not sure why Showdown's thinking so much here. His hand is so strong that, you know, to a second raise from one of the bigger stacks, you know, not one of our other short stacks, I think this is an automatic call. He's just taking his time because he's worried about going broke on the bubble. But if you're going to play the pair of jacks by not just shoving in instantly, then you've got to call the single raise.
So sick. Why would you do this to a fellow ex-StarCraft player?
It's nothing personal.
He must sense that Strassman has a big hand, because otherwise this is automatic.
He's just referenced a PC game there, which I think is fantasy-based, so you should be right on that, Greg.
I don't like the computer games.
Can't believe this.
Eric's going to pass, and Johannes is going to take this pot.
Big ace or big pair? One time?
Big hand. 6-7? Very big hand.
He's thinking of the bubble.
Ace queen.
Too tight. Jacks, laying down jacks, way too tight.
Well, we employ a witch doctor in the hills of Haiti to work out exactly who the best EPT players are over what's been 5 series now, and some familiar names, as you can see there. Martin and Strassman just making the top 10 overall. They know what it's like to be at the thick ends of an EPT event, but it's a Frenchman, Bertrand Grospellier, leading the way. And by quite a distance, some other massive names there. Pagano's there, Lelouch is there, of course, who we're seeing now. Ramphaswani. Well, 30,000 big blinds, and if you're sitting with 300,000 odd chips, that's a 10th of your stack.
And if you've only got about 10 big blinds, as far as I'm concerned, your only move should be all in or fold. There's a couple of exceptions, but that's only because there's always exceptions when it comes to poker. No absolutes.
Papa Smurfit folds.
Queen 9 of hearts, not unreasonable, especially when you're short stacked and just maybe shove in and hope to steal the blinds and antes. And Marcin has decided that's the case. With his tight play and his tight reputation, he's probably going to get away with this pretty often.
Horetsky doesn't even have 10 blinds. He's got
instant call. Instant call, though. Well, no wonder. Pocket aces. Easy decision there.
Oh, I don't know. I think Strassman's playing a bit loose there, Greg.
That's right. His aces aren't suited. I mean, at least Marcin has suited cards. And even if Horetsky does make his flush, if there's another card to come, Strassman has the ace of hearts. He could top him that way.
Horetsky's in trouble. He needs a kind flop. Couldn't look more out of place if he was John McCain in the Oval Office right now.
Wow, what a horrible flop, too. He's got to hit runner something.
It's not going to happen.
Queens, hearts.
Well, there's the 9.
Whoa,
could it be runner?
A queen or a 9, 5 outs.
Dun, 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 dun.
Is the Lone Ranger coming?
The Lone Ranger is coming. It's another 9. Trip 9s. Strassman will feel that in the pit of his stomach.
Wow.
Horetsky lives to fight another day.
I think Tonto's here too.
There's phrases for how lucky that was, but we can't use them on terrestrial television.
It's so sick.
It is sick, but you need to get lucky sometimes.
But you talked about him having less than 10 big blinds. He had to push him with anything decent. He didn't do a bad thing there. He just
Not at all.
He just walked into the bullets.
It doesn't matter. It's okay. Well played. Well played. Well, I have to push. I mean, that's poker. That's poker. You need to get lucky sometimes.
You do need to get lucky, and you're lucky because you're with the EPT. Still waiting for final table here in London.
Yep, Marcin caught that bolt of lightning, and yeah, he's not going to test his luck twice there with King Deuce.
So much to do in a town like London. It never sleeps, and one of them makes a mistake. Greg and I hit the town.
You can hit the town, not me. I'm here with my wife. We're hitting the town together. We had a little Tower of London Twilight tour.
Oh, how was that for you?
It was nice, very educational.
They let you out.
We had a yeoman warden leading us around. And a little funny little blue puffy hat.
I think that's what they call it as well. If you read the history of the Tower of London, the funny wee blue puffy hat.
I probably do.
Well, here we go. Here's one of our big stacks.
And he's got a pretty good hand, especially for late position.
I wonder what he likes playing. I wonder does he like being in this situation with the biggest stack. It seems like an inane question because everyone wants a big stack. Some players get very unusually tight with them. Lelouch, of course, is on a different level than most players, so I'm sure he's relishing it.
Well, interesting spot here. We got an ace in the big blind, and he's going to be thinking that Lelouch might be raising with anything.
Oh,
and he does. He does think exactly that, so I think I have the best hand, and that's that, buddy.
Now, Smurfett's one of the smaller stacks. He's only got, as Greg said, about 10 big blinds. The only move is the push-in. So it's just whether Lelouch credits Smurfett as a player to be tight enough to have a big pair. Well, it's all about the player here.
Alan is known as a very tight, solid player.
And when you're known as a very tight, solid player...
and he shows the A7. He shows it to him, rubs it in his face.
When you're known as a really tight player, you can get away with that in a tournament. You really can.
To be honest, I don't think Alan was necessarily trying to rub it in his face. I think I'm wrong about that comment. I think what he was doing is saying, see, I had a real hand. I had an ace.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you had anything, buddy.
He thought it was the classic button raise.
I thought he was making a button raise.
There we go.
I thought it was a button move, so I misread him.
Let's just say that if he hadn't been dealt ace-jack, he probably raises anyway.
Lelouch top of the pile then at the end of hand 167. But 12 hands later, he's been supplanted by Sweden's Michael Tereniak. Philippe Dautai has also made some progress, but Eric Joden remains rooted to the foot of the chip count table.
A Swede in need. Eric Joden in 9th place with the smallest stack. 1 to go. Strassman's under the gun. Under the gun, early position, ace-jack, 9 players. Standard raise?
Pretty standard, especially in this spot where you know that you've got over half the table covered and they're not going to play anything but a premium hand.
Yeah.
They're not going to just play back at you because they think they can get you to fold. They're going to have a better hand than ace-jack. So, in a sense, he's bluffing with this hand because if anyone does play back at him, he's going to have to lay it down, but he knows they're not going to most of the time, and he can take down the blinds and antes, which is a pretty substantial amount of money right now.
He'll pass, just the blinds now.
Well, that's exactly the way this is going to go. Unless there's something in the big blinds. Oh, pocket 10s. And the small blind. Shoden pushes all in.
He's all in with vigor, too.
That sucks. How many more? How much more? I made a mistake. I wanted to raise to 80K.
This is the hand Shoden wanted.
How much? Yeah, can we keep the F-bombs to a minimum, guys?
Please, yes. This is a family show.
I really, honestly, we have a bleep button in the commentary box, you know, just in case, but...
I need to pass.
He needs to what? That's more bad language. Oh, pass.
You're
Sorry.
Ace King or Ace King there too often.
You do have those bad ears, don't you?
Oh, he folds the ace jack. He wasn't interested in that.
Ace jack?
How can you push there?
What? You had less than 10 big blinds.
Again, this is just a tightening up of the table, right?
And it was obvious.
How can he fold?
Wow.
He's just getting too big a price no matter what.
Ace jack?
How much more was that exactly?
No way you folded ace jack.
It was the same amount you raised to
Oh
call.
my god, I made a big mistake.
That's why you always ask how much more.
Wow.
This table's never ending.
16 more minutes.
At least he's laughing at himself.
Yeah, I'm in. Ah. Wow, that was the worst decision I ever made in my whole life.
We can all agree with that, mate.
That's poker.
If the worst decision he's ever made in his life is around a poker table, I do admire him, so that's good. And it's just so hard here today to budge that last person to get to that final table, but it'll happen
How much time left?
in a flash, no doubt.
Oh yeah, it usually comes like a bolt of lightning. It just boom, hits out of nowhere.
14 minutes left.
Ace jack.
Well, you know what they say, you gotta win with ace jack, you gotta beat ace jack.
Showdown. Ace jack.
I'm all in.
Well, what a pocket hand to lose on, which he might do because Eric Lou's got the kings. I said it might happen in a flash, and it has done that. Let's not even talk about it. Eric Lou will push in, absolutely. So here we go. He's pushed all in. We'll go heads up, I'd imagine. Unless, no, absolutely. We're going to go heads up. And this is, I mean, what are we looking at? I suppose let's see the flop first, and then we'll talk about if there's any strange connotations, any straight draws come up, any strange flush draws come up.
Well, the truth is here, we're 29% of the way from having our final table.
Bad card. Bad card, bad card. So Showdown drops in the percentage stakes. He's 2 cards away from leaving this tournament.
It's the 10 of hearts.
And now 1 card, and he's got no backdoor outs.
What's he got here? Just the ace?
Just the ace, nothing else.
Okay,
3
well,
aces in the deck.
It's last gasp. It's a last chance. And it's not that card. Insult to injury, though. It is his jack, but the pocket kings hold up from Eric Lou. And that means the guy with a small stack doesn't pull off the great escape. Eric Showdown goes out on the bubble, but increases his reputation on the poker scene.
And all those chips that were just given to him by Strassman go straight to the more dangerous Eric Lou.
Just 20 years old. That's a statement he's made. 9th in the London EPT.
So commiserations to Eric Showdown. After a bruising battle, our final table is decided. It's a lineup with plenty of experience, but no EPT titles to date. Next time, a new winner will be crowned. Well, it is the end of 3 grueling days of poker here at the London EPT. 596 runners started, only 8 remain. They get to come back tomorrow and play for a top prize of £1 million. They need some sleep, so do I. So I'll see you tomorrow.